Hello,
Hello.
my friend Dave. My friend Dave.
It's my
Let's
bud,
do this thing.
Canadian Eric.
That's right, Canadian Eric. I gotta get on my Twitch. My volume is down.
God, I look
This is.
tired.
It is 10:30.
I
I'm
guess
I'm
it's been
usually
a long
sleeping
day.
at that time. Me
Yeah.
Trunks. Hello, hello. Welcome to
Well,
the show.
howdy.
Here we go. What do we have on the? Oh, I love the Speakeasies. These are my favorite shows. I don't know why.
We haven't done one in ages. Whoa, God, I think we did one before I moved out. So
Yeah, I
March.
think maybe it could be a quarterly thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we could do
Every
quarterly.
season we do one.
Hmm.
We got our winter. We could separate them. Winter speakeasy, summer speakeasy, right?
Yeah, let's start from this one. Winter Speakeasy. Howdy,
Okay.
handsome. It still
Hey, hey,
sounds
hey.
like howdy, handsome every time. I know it's just me. It probably just goes sharp. Oh, damn it! My mouse appears when I hover over. Oh, I didn't click turn off mouse. I'm just gonna leave it. I'll just try and not use the mouse over there, or I'll occasionally just like make it fly under your nose.
Are we are we we're taking Christmas and New Year's off, I imagine?
Um,
Because they're
well,
on Wednesdays.
they're on Wednesdays. I guess it's a case of whether because we could record the first of our top 20 of 2025 before we go back to work, if you want to.
Hmm.
Um, so potentially, when is somewhere between? Because I go back to work on the 2nd
Okay.
of January. No, the 3rd. So we could do
Okay.
one in then if you want to, but we'll
Yeah.
figure
Yeah.
that out
Okay.
because then we
Yeah,
can
yeah.
launch that one in the new year, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So for Omega Bread's here, Yansom's here, Meat Trunks, fellas.
Bloody hell!
Here we go. So it seems we're gonna save Christmas. Save it for
We're
the
going to
Lord.
save Christmas. Not only have we saved
Yeah.
comics this year, right?
Yeah.
You
Right?
know, and we've
We're
saved the
gonna save
whole
Christmas.
omnibus sales thing just by choosing all the best suggestions. But now we're going to save Christmas, yeah.
Yes.
Oh no, I didn't
Exactly.
go for a whiz before we started. Can I go for a
Go for
whiz?
a whiz. Go for a whiz. We gotta wait for BC Scrubs, and then we drop the boom. Gentlemen, how's everybody doing? I hope you got a lot of comics coming your way in the next week as gifts if you celebrate the holidays or exchange gifts. I hope that's something to look forward to. What's everybody reading right now? I am currently reading Deadly Class from Rick Remender. I'd like to get him on the show. Just putting it out there. I'd like to have a chat with him. Hey, BC Scrubs is here. We're just waiting for Dave to come back from his bathroom retreat, and then we will begin the show and drop the boom. I'm reading Batman Eternal. Okay, I just finished Batman Eternal last month. How are you enjoying Batman Eternal? I quite liked it. It hit the spot after I watched the Penguin television show. I really wanted to get like a Batman fix in. Just talking to the chat group. Really wanted to get a Batman fix in, so I read that,
Oh,
and then I followed that up with the Rise and Fall of the Batman back to back. And they kind of complemented each other enough that if you read Batman Eternal and then read the Rise and Fall of the Batman, you're kind of caught up to speed
oh,
of
the detective run.
the detective comic run. Yeah, the Rebirth detective
Yes,
comic. But
of
that's the
course.
name of the
I
omnibus. It's
totally
not even
forgot that
detective.
was the name.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
it's
kind of like, what's that? I know it. I
yeah,
can't think what it
yeah.
is.
So I'm still in a bit of a Batman mood, but I forced myself to like try something different because I could have just gone the rest of the month. And I don't even. It's not even like I'm not even sure how to explain. It's not. Sometimes you can really get into you zone in on a character or an era,
Yeah,
and it's like, okay, I'm just in my Black Panther time. Like I'm falling in love with the character, and Batman's one of those characters we've all read plenty of, but I don't know if it was the time of day I was reading. It would be like early morning, sitting in my car. It's kind of cold, a little bit of snowflakes falling, and some of the pages have that exact
uh huh.
kind of background. So I'm
And
like,
your voice
this is
hasn't
just
quite come out properly yet, so you're going like this a lot.
a little. I'm a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me this
I'll
morning.
have my normal breakfast option,
Yeah,
please. Thank you.
yeah,
You know me
yeah.
by now.
Exactly. So, what was everyone read? Charles Soule, Daredevil Omnibus, 10 issues in.
Oh,
Pretty solid, nice. Really liking it. Feels way more Batman than the Snyder Capullo series. Interesting. About to start reading Mortal Iron Fist. Ah, yes. I hope you enjoy that. I just finished reading, actually, me and Dave, I think around the same time we did Firepower. Speaking of
we did.
Iron Fist,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Um, yeah, maybe we could talk about that at some point.
Well,
Don't want to spoil
is
it.
it not going to be in 2025's list? Do
I
you
don't
think
know if it.
it won't
I
be in
bought
mine?
it. I bought it with the full intention that it would most likely make my
Same.
top 10 list because I just loved the first volume. Um,
Mm.
I love the first volume more than the second volume.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna spoil it. You read at your own discretion, but
yeah.
yeah,
We could talk about that then if you want.
we could talk about that.
I've
Absolutely.
got to say, dude, and this is by no means a dig, Omega Bread, because I know you probably kicked my face in, but you could if you wanted to. But when people refer to something as solid, I can't not think about poop. Like, and especially when someone uses the phrase "do me a solid," I actually think of curling one off in a Tupperware box and then giving it to them. That's how my brain visualizes. Do me a solid. My brain goes to curl it off in the Tupperware box and give it to You're like, yeah, I can't. I just can't. So I can't describe anything as solid. And whenever someone uses kind of like, there's like the popular vernacular of the time, I can't jump on it because I always just feel like a fraud. It's like when a mate of mine would actually, he's a skateboarder. He's a really good skateboarder. And he refers to things as being sick. But I can't do that.
I
It
used to
just
use that
doesn't
for
sound
term.
right when I do it. I'm too English.
That's funny.
Wow, that certainly sounds sick. Yes. Yes, isn't it? It
Uh,
sounds deeply unwell.
that's
Yes. Word to
that,
Mumsy.
that's cool. Unwell. I like that. Ill.
Is unwell
Yeah.
instead of
I'm
sick.
terminal.
I'm going to get the unwell score on Tony Hawk.
That's so funny. Yeah, I used to say sick
The
a
bit
lot. That was
peaky
my term.
score.
That's so funny. Yes, the Omega Bread says that he liked Firepower until he didn't. Such a dance squid by the end.
Oh.
Yeah. Fair review. But should we begin our comic book speakeasy, our Christmas speakeasy? Speaking of solids, I've been playing the Mr. Hanky tune on repeat for me. Oh, he's a troublemaker. He's a troublemaker, that one.
Isn't he? Jesus.
Yes. So for everybody that's here with us next week, we will not be going live. We'll have a day with the families. I imagine everybody would want that anyhow, so we'll take a holiday.
Yeah.
But shall we begin?
I think we shall.
Let's begin. All right, here we go. Let's do it with me, BC. 4, 3, 2, 1, and boom. Welcome back, everybody, to the Omniverse Comics Guide podcast. We are your Omniverse Comics Guide guys. I'm Eric. That's my pal. What's your
Eric
name?
as well. Just to make it more difficult.
Dave, how are you, my pal? How's it going?
I'm mighty fine, thank you, sir. Mighty fine.
I like the decorations.
Oh, do
Very
you?
festive.
Thank you.
Yes, it's great.
I haven't actually personally applied Christmas decorationisms in about nearly 20 years to anything. It's always been done by others. So I did it with my ladies, my two little ladies. That is, I'm not a pimp.
Yeah.
So yeah, my 10-year-old and 7-year-olds were helping me out. So I made it more like them. So it's got tinsel and all sorts that I wasn't allowed previously in my previous life. So yes, here you go.
great.
This is very out of
That's
character
great.
for me.
Very solid decoration.
Solid, yeah. There's another one. It's got tinsel in it.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us on Twitch. We always appreciate the friends that come through every week and chime in and correct us when we make mistakes or give us a really good take on some of the things we're talking about. Appreciate that. For those watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, thumbs up, share the show, give us a review, comment if you like. It helps us, and we just want to help make the show better. And of course, on all the different podcast platforms, same thing. Hit that subscribe button if you like what we're talking about when it comes to our love of comic books. But of course, we have to go to the omniversecomics.guide website where
What's
we've got
there?
what's there. We got reading orders that Dave expertly makes. They're second to none as far as where you're going to look for a reading order in comics. It's the best one-stop shop.
No.
We've got podcasts, interviews, collector item specials, reviews, all kinds of goodies there. And the site keeps growing bit by bit. So come check us out, see our back catalog of all the other episodes we've had, and come through every week. We got a
Yeah.
show,
And
right?
tell your friends if you like
Tell
it
your
as well.
friends.
Tell your
That's right.
friends. If
Tell
you
your
have
friends.
friends, tell them. If you don't, then you can't.
Exactly. And you know what? The back catalog I think is just as fun as being with us every week because the stuff we talk about is never ending, right? It's like what do they call it? Uh, evergreen.
Oh,
Evergreen,
yes.
right? Like evergreen top 10
Yeah.
Superman stories. It changes as we go, but it's part of the fun to go back and
It's
see
an
where we go.
evolution, but it's nice to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, in terms of watching and rewatching, thanks to BC Scrubs for having watched so many episodes. Because I'm playing this episode again. Great. Thank you. Racking those views up, my dude. So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
appreciate it.
And actually, also,
Absolutely.
another thank you that I haven't mentioned in the past is to Meat Trunks. It not only appears regularly on our manga episodes,
Yes.
but he also proofs a lot of the reading orders.
Wow. See,
So he
everyone,
sends through, he lets you know my mistakes, of which I often make many.
that's okay.
Did you
Well,
mean
that's
this? Oh yeah, I
yeah.
did, yeah. So I thought, yes, if not for him doing that, some things wouldn't make sense.
It's definitely a team effort. I'm starting to realize that.
Yeah,
With
well,
the
this is why it's an omniverse now.
That's right.
Yeah,
It's global, international
yeah,
omniverse.
literally international.
It's awesome. So everybody, thank you for hanging out with us. It's a speakeasy. I love the speakeasies because I never know what we might talk about. Dave always has like random questions and name pronunciations that we laugh about. And of course, we always bring a little drink with us. Cheers, Dave. Cheers,
Cheers,
everybody
dude.
at home.
Ting.
Happy hunting, happy holidays, and Merry Christmas. Right?
Merry Christmas,
Yeah.
and drink. Oh,
Okay.
that was a big gulp. Wasn't ready for that, mate.
Yes. So, comic speakeasies. Where do you want to begin? What do you? Okay, I'll begin.
Okay.
We have to talk about the trailer,
Yeah. Why
the
wouldn't we?
Superman, the
Yes.
Superman trailer. I don't know when it dropped,
I
but
think it was today.
it was today. People were texting me, calling me, asking what my opinion was. Um, I'll say this: I got choked up.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Yeah, very much so. What was it that choked you up though?
Oh, as soon as crypto,
Yeah.
as soon as crypto showed up, and he and you know once he hit the Arctic and he's just laying there and he can barely utter a sound, but he whistles. I'm like, oh, you got
That was
me.
the bit. That yeah, same.
You
Oh,
got me.
I've got
Yeah,
it now.
yeah. It totally. And then when he hands him the cape, and then later on you just see him like dragging him. He didn't even fly like
No,
holding him
that's
by the
true.
cape. He,
Yeah.
he dragged him there like gently because he's going to the fortress, right? And it
Yeah.
was just like
Presumably.
it's just a nice little change of direction where in the previous movie universe it was very dark and dour and
Yeah.
like how bad a world would be if Superman existed. Whereas in this one, it feels like I would want to live in Metropolis
Mm.
if he was the hero because he wouldn't let anybody get hurt.
Yeah. Well,
Right?
that's why that shot as well with him then with the little girl is so
Perfect.
yeah. It's like boom. Like, oh, that was the next chill. For me, it was like
Yeah.
chilled and then chills.
And I love that they used the classic fanfare, the John
Yeah,
Williams
in a
music
different way, but
in a different
still,
way, but
yeah,
it hits. Like
it does.
there's something about that song. Like Brian Hitch was talking about it on the, plug to the collector's item special with Brian Hitch. It was a great episode, but he talked about how powerful that music was. And I've echoed that throughout the year, saying that time that I watched the orchestra play it, it
Yeah,
really gets you. There's something magical about Star Wars. All of the John Williams scores are very like, he taps into something. I don't even know how to describe it, but the Superman one especially, I don't know what it is that
I
it
don't
it
know. It's kind of, there's
it's
that build to it, and it's also really familiar, and it's grand, and it's not pretentious, but it
yes.
lets you know it's there, and it deserves to be, but it still doesn't feel like it's kind of going, yeah, so yeah. Have some. It feels like Superman.
Yeah, and the notes literally sound like
They
Superman. Like
do.
it's almost
Yeah,
designed to
Superman.
for kids to sing along when they're playing with the toy. Like I know I did,
Uh huh.
and the
Yeah,
the
so did
song
I.
just suits itself to that feeling of hopefulness.
Yeah,
Very hopeful.
yeah, which is
It's
perfect. What
it
was that? Your
yeah.
superpowers, your Kenner superpowers,
Yep.
Superman? Because I
That
had
was
I had a difference. I forgot until this moment that I
hmm
had a Superman toy
interesting.
before I was 5 even, and it was a stock still Superman, one arm kind of down, one arm up, like a ballerina,
Yes.
and
Yes.
he could hold a piece of kryptonite in his hand, and then he had a little cord on his back, and you'd send him down the cord and he'd fly. Except I had nothing to attach anything to, so you'd just throw him, and his eyes lit up. I think
Yeah, like that, and that was
I'd forgotten
that
all about that.
toy that I can honestly say that toy was my reason for loving comic books. I'm not sure where it correlated that I realized Superman exists in
It
the
just gets
comics.
ingrained. That
There's something about it, but my first thing was that Superpowers toy as a child, like flying around with it to the
sure, yeah,
soundtrack, right? And it's just it really, really makes me happy to see Superman get people excited.
yeah. Well, a day earlier, people were whinging. That was the buzz was negative, and they were attributing it to like Warner Brothers stock dropping and all sorts of stuff. And people are complaining about the outfit. We haven't really. This bit hasn't shown the outfit. Why are people complaining? Why are you complaining? Like, just give it a chance. I mean, even with the trailer out, and I loved the trailer. There are a couple of bits in it I wish were different, but it got me really excited to see Superman on a screen again,
Yeah.
and that's great. But like, don't forget, people said the same about Guardians of the Galaxy
Right.
when James Gunn did. It is James Gunn, isn't it? When he
Yep.
did Guardians of the Galaxy, and they were all going, "This is going to be Marvel's first flop." And
For
guess
sure.
what?
It's
Trilogy.
one of their best,
Yeah,
easily. I would
yeah.
put it up there in my probably top five Marvel
God,
movies.
yeah. Thinking about it, yeah, yeah, it beat my top 5 safely.
The rewatchability of it,
Yeah,
it's got it, and I expected the least from it, and I
yeah.
went into this Superman I had no expectations, no sort of. It's kind of like how I felt about the Matt Reeves Batman. I
Mm.
didn't have any hope for it, not because I didn't want it to be good. It's just that we'll see.
Yeah,
We've made
it's the
so
best way
many
to
of these.
be.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. If it's good, I don't want to go into it the way I went into like BVS, where I already had kind of decided that I loved it before I had watched the movie.
I'm sorry.
And yeah, I was very vocal out about it after because I watched the movie and I enjoyed it at the theater. But then when the movie finished, I looked over at my wife who loves, Superman and Batman team ups, just loves it. I'm like, what do you think? She's like, it was like she had gone through a ride.
Right.
There was an exhilaration factor
Yeah.
of, the effects in the movie, like boom, lots very loud, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman on the
Of
screen,
course.
like,
Yeah.
whoa, what just happened? And then I let it sit for a bit, maybe an hour or two, and I was just like, oh no, that was terrible. Sorry,
Why did
that's
it take so long to sing?
I
Is it because
think
you so badly wanted it to be that good?
because there's I try to be balance the subjectiveness
Yeah.
to my ability to be objective.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things about stuff that I would like simply because it's Superman and Batman. Like even
Yeah.
if it's not good, I like it because it's my thing. Like I named the podcast Cave of Solitude. I just like Superman and Batman.
Yeah.
So I'll be the first apologist for making myself believe it's good. But if I'm going to be fair, I have to take everything that I've seen over time. I've seen what a good comic book movie can be. I've read a lot of comic books, and I can see the sort of like here's the problem that I'm dealing with right now, and I couldn't get it out of my head.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
And even when people would try to convince me, Batman's the best. This is why it makes sense. I'm like, stop trying to defend a badly written moment. Like as as a as a hardcore Superman Batman fan, I feel like the only reason Dark Knight Returns works is because it's under the premise that these guys have been friends for years,
Yeah.
right? There's a
Yes.
relationship
The
that
comic is.
the comic,
Yeah.
right? There's a relationship that the moments that they have are earned, whereas the movie was trying to capture a moment because it's iconic. And
Uh,
let's get that shot. Let's get that shot of Batman with the lightning behind him. And let's get that shot of Doomsday. And like, you're not earning any of these moments
no,
of
you're
why they
right.
meant something, right? And that was for me the thing of like, I don't think you can course correct. I think we're stuck in this framework of how they're going to tell these stories. And they really need to get out of the darkness.
They do. Treating
And this
everyone
is
like their super like their Batman is the mistake. This is
exactly.
so bright. It just looks so bright. I wasn't expecting Crypto to look fluffy, but it worked.
Hmm.
He was really sweet and fluffy.
I didn't
Like,
expect him to
look
be
at him, he's
fluffy, but I'm like,
fluffy.
oh, yeah. I
Never
always
seen
thought he
him look
was.
that way before, so that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah, it's
You know,
fresh.
and it's immediately cute. I wasn't sold on Guy. I was never sold on Guy in the casting for Guy because I don't like Nathan Fillion at all. I can't stand him. He really annoys me. I don't get why people think he's funny. I don't get it. But fine, let's just see what they do. Let's see what they do.
Yeah,
But that was probably the only bit to me that where I was like,
I do like the fact that they're going for it. Like it just feels like James Gunn is really going for DC. Like
yeah, and gets
I'm really
DC.
yeah, I'm digging my heels into making this a DC universe and seeing the JSA so like unapologetically the JSA.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's cool. I like when they do those kind of nods. Now, again, the costume, you got to distinguish the costume from so many that you've seen
yeah,
at this point on TV. So if there's going to be something different about it, it kind of looks like the Kingdom Come S
it
without the
does,
black,
doesn't it?
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
kind of has that feel to it. So, use your imagination. Very likely they could incorporate a Kingdom Come storyline,
there was a
and it
question.
would
Oh, sorry, go on.
go ahead. No, go ahead. Was that Metamorpho in the trailer or was that Brainiac?
I think that
I
was
was
Metamorpho because I saw his shoulders and it looked like Metamorpho. So the kind of
yeah, rock looking.
yeah face with the
Yeah, I
swirlies.
wasn't sure myself. I'm not sure if it could be also Parasite. Like I'm not,
Well, it was suggested that it could be
but Metamorpho's a JSA member.
Bizarro. Was he
True?
Metamorphose in JSA?
No, I could be wrong. Pardon me, I could be wrong.
I think he was in. He's in Outsiders.
Yes, yes, you're right. Outsiders.
He was. I think he might have been in the Justice League in the 70s.
Yeah, I know he's been on teams
Yeah.
at different points, but
Oh, there we go.
it's very exciting, and
Yes.
the score is there. It's bright. I love Lois Lane. I'm a big fan of Marvelous Miss Maisel. I don't know if you've ever watched that show on Amazon.
No.
I love that actress, Rachel Brosnahan. She was also a character in House of Cards, but
Okay.
she's great in Marvelous Miss Maisel, where she plays like a housewife whose husband they've separated. This takes place in the late 50s, early 60s. So she lives, mid Manhattan, Jewish family, and she tries her hand at stand-up comedy. So she's a very quick-witted,
Oh,
fast-speaking,
is that
witty
what that's about?
character. Yes, it's really great. I liked it myself.
I had no idea what it was actually about.
It's a lot of fun. It's very, very witty, very
Okay.
quippy. It's got a good, it's kind of like Mad Men, but as far as costume design, because it takes place in that era.
Oh, okay. I thought it took place in a even older era. So
A
I've
few
got that
years
whole thing
before.
completely out of whack. I thought it was something completely different.
Yeah, it's right there in the 59, 60 era. So it's got a lot of charm, but as far as an actress goes, she really can pull off Lois Lane. That quick-witted, snappy, not afraid, attractive, pretty, but it's the ability. Like the same thing in Marvelous Miss Maisel is the fact that she could keep up with the boys in the stand-up realm and be kind of smarter than them. It's like it's a perfect Lois Lane.
Oh,
I was very
nice.
excited
Okay,
about it.
that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, it's very exciting.
What do you think about Lex Luthor casting?
Yeah, I mean, again, I like it better than Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah,
I can't stand Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor,
yeah. That was a weird
but
choice.
this actor, I could see why they could be friends at one point in time, like they could be peers potentially, because there's always that aspect of the Lex Luthor Superman history is that once upon a time they were childhood
Uh
friends,
huh.
and there's like a long time rivalry as to why he would feel all this angst towards either Clark or to this alien now. So I like the potential of how they've casted and kind of are positioning the story.
Well, apparently he went for the Superman role.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I
Okay.
think they want them to be kind of diametrically opposed, but similar, kind of mirrors of each other.
I really liked that moment of seeing Clark Kent in the crowd of people.
Yeah, so did I. Weirdly, I thought like, oh, this is different. They've made his hair look like John Kent when he became older and got his own series. When he became, was it being called Superman at that point? But yeah, when they kind of met, when he took over while Clark was in
Okay,
space
yeah,
on
Superman,
Warworld.
son of Kal-El.
Yes, yeah, he had that, which I didn't. I'm not. I wasn't a fan of in the comics for some reason, but it seems to work on this, like as a disguise, extra bit of disguise.
Yeah, I feel his whole body language, the way that he's been cast is very much all-star Superman.
Yeah,
Superman.
yeah. That's that also like
He's
this
big,
is that.
but he's not like muscles coming out of his ears like the Ed McGuinness kind of
Yeah.
version,
Oh
right? Henry
my
Cavill
days.
kind of embodies that
Yeah, he
look a
does.
little bit, but he looks like that Frank Quietly, like big, lumpy, sort of frumpy kind of guy getting through. He's big, like he has a presence, but you'd want to forget it.
Uh huh.
Whereas when you see Superman, you're like, it's just powerful. There's
Yeah.
something you believe that he could lift a building.
Mhm.
It's almost cartoonish how he looks. It's very well done.
Yeah.
Just the trailer though. Like I'm
Yeah.
getting ahead of myself, but
Oh no, it's good. I mean, the trailer should the job of the trailer is to get you excited, to get the audience excited, and it's done it. Well, it has for me, and it has for you, and I think
yeah.
it looks sounds like it has for a number of people in the chat as well. Uh, Clark looks like a pale Richard Ayoade. Interesting. I think I'd watch a Superman starring Richard Ayoade. Maybe he could be the Earth 23 Superman, but I suppose he'd have to be played by. Most people would probably want. Oh God, was he Earth 23? The Black Superman,
Okay.
because
I
he was
forget the name.
based. He looked like he was based on Barack Obama.
Yes, that's right.
But yeah, Rich Ayoade. Do you ever watch the IT Crowd?
No, I
No.
don't know that.
You'd probably recognise his voice though if you heard it. It's
Oh,
very distinctive.
okay, okay,
It's not a
probably.
Superman voice. Oh yeah, Michael B. Jordan was going to play Superman, wasn't
The
he? He was going to be the Earth. I keep saying Earth 23 like I know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't 100% know what Earth it was.
Yeah, I really like the direction they're going with this. It's hopeful, which I think is what you want a Superman movie to make you feel like. And it's taking the chances of inserting other members of the DC universe that aren't like your face is funny. including
Oh,
members of the DC universe that just opens up the potential for like where are they going to go with this story?
it feels like it could go anywhere. So I haven't seen Creature
Yeah,
Commandos yet, but the fact that we've got Mr. Terrific, the fact that we've got Hawk Girl,
yeah,
Metamorpho of all people, where else are we going? There's some rumors about Ultra Man. I think they're bigger than rumors, but yeah. So it could go anywhere, literally anywhere at this point, which is just really cool because the DC universe is so big,
yeah.
so vast. There's so many characters from multiple eras, multiple continuities. You could pick the best and put it up there. It deserves its time in the spotlight, and it deserves some time to shine, and not just have people immediately try and go, what's better than Marvel? Like, just stop. You can like two things. It's okay to like two things.
Yeah, absolutely. I've never been a fan of the one or the other. You can't support both. It's like, yeah, you
You
can.
can.
Because yeah, I mean, I like the competition of what you like better. Are you a Marvel guy? Like, I don't mind the sort of, but
What are you?
to
You
make,
Marvel guy or DC guy? You got to get rid of half your collection now. Do you get rid of the Marvel books or the DC books?
I'm just gonna keep my Superman. Yeah, I'd get rid of them. I'd get rid of everything and just keep my like John Byrne era Superman because that'll make me feel like okay, everything's
Okay.
okay in the
That
world,
counts as a
right?
DC choice.
My DC. Yeah, that's what I
I
would
would
keep.
do the same. And I've
But
been a Marvel guy most of my life.
yeah, and I just think about nothing will top my Walt Simonson and Thor omnibus like that.
Oh, oh, you
For
say
me,
that?
but the one thing that would get me through would be my Superman books. And I'm just really excited that because of the movie and the hype around it, you know that you're going to be getting, a lot more Superman omnis, Superman
Yeah,
related collections, which is long overdue because
yeah.
I mean, I'm on my Superman soapbox, but having gone to the comic shops for, being a Wednesday warrior, as they say, and, visiting numerous shops throughout the week and other places, you always hear people shit on Superman.
Yeah.
He's the worst character. I would hear guys in the store like, so Superman's like the worst. I don't even know why they make his comics. He's just so, I'm like, man, there wouldn't be superhero comics. Like,
No.
that's the first. At least tip your hat to that,
Yeah.
right?
It's
And
really
I've
easy to do that and lazy to do it, frankly.
Yeah. And so I've been happy to hear like Jeff Johns and Brian Hitch to take a moment out of talking about Ghost Machine and just saying how much Superman means to them. And there's nothing in it for them anymore,
No.
right?
True.
Which I'm just, yeah, it's not like they have to say that. It's what they really feel. And it's just so refreshing to be like, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, the way he drew Superman, like we connected to it.
That's
There's
so
just something,
weird.
right?
That's what I was picturing. When I was picturing a Superman in my head just now, and it was Jose Luis Garcia Lopez Superman.
Yeah. That
You
was the
in
same
my
thing for me.
mind.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking at the
Be
superpower
careful in
toy.
there.
They designed the whole branding of superpowers out of stuff, right? So yeah, I'm just really excited that he's getting his day in the sun.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
Pun fully intended. Intend the hell out of that pun, Mo Flipper. So Omega Bread says in the chat as
Yes.
well, people who shit on Superman are people who in general have never read Superman, which is very, very true. In fact, I used to do it, and I hadn't read Superman. He's too powerful. It's all about truth and justice, the American way. Who cares? Like, no, I've learned the error of my ways. I've probably said it enough times that I'm not going to go into it again. But yeah, it just I love this character. I was literally before I even saw the trailer and I forgot the trailer was out. I was responding to a voice note and I suddenly just started talking about Super. I'll explain why I was talking about Superman later, but we'll do it at the end of the show. But yeah, I just started talking about Superman. It was just like a 5 minute. Blah, blah, blah. Here's why I like Superman now when I didn't used to. What an idiot I was. So it's just it really resonate when you start to give those stories a chance and just pick great stories. There are plenty of great stories. We've done episodes where we've listed great stories. So just head on out there and give them a go. That was it.
I think we should connect do a couple of episodes next year dedicated to
Yeah,
the man in the big red cape.
definitely.
Yeah, we could
Definitely.
do either a mini series or even like a decade. Do a little
Ooh, 2 decades.
zeroing in on stuff. Yeah, we got to get into more decade stuff for sure.
Yes. Nice choice.
Because it's endless. It's endless, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Super. Because man, especially with the Triangle era, there's so many comics to reread again and have a place to like find them.
Yeah.
That was always the tricky part with a lot of 90s comics that people were always quick to shit on. It's just you can't read them all together.
No.
Now you read them again, you find like, hey, there's a lot of good stuff here. Look at all of these creators that were on these books all
Well,
together.
that's the thing.
Like
Especially
just
when
for
you
that
think like
alone, take a look.
a lot of those creators were doing stuff on those Superman books and also doing stuff on Marvel titles, and people were talking about how great they were. Like it's the same creators. You think they're going to just suddenly churn out bad stories because it's Superman? Come on.
Yeah. No, no, it's and when you hear people who are passionate about the character, like Brian Hitch is he had that Justice League miniseries, the 9 issues, that was
That was
very
good.
heavily
I like
built
that.
around Superman.
Yeah,
I like that one myself too.
yeah.
I it wasn't being critically acclaimed at the time, but I enjoyed it. It felt like it was his own self-contained thing while still being part of the New 52 in its own way. It was its own interesting JLA story that I quite enjoyed, and I liked the sort of the philosophical battle about it.
I'm trying to think.
Like the
Sorry.
whole idea of the Kryptonian god
Yes.
coming to Earth and basically like, yeah, we can make it a utopia. And of course, the one guy who's like, well, what are you really up to, right? It's just so good.
Well, that's the
I
thing.
love
If you do
comics.
want to read that, I think it was called Justice League of America,
Hmm.
and I think the collector's edition is Gods and Monsters, but I could be wrong. I'll throw it up on the screen.
Yes, it's gonna bother me
Yeah,
now.
I can't now think what it was. Oh,
Someone will tell us in the chat.
yes.
But yeah, that's a solid one. I was actually hopeful for Brian Hitch's Rebirth Justice League run, which wasn't quite as strong as that miniseries was,
No.
but it's okay.
Yeah, it's
Can't wear
fine.
all the hats all the time.
No, no, it's impossible. But yes, great stuff. If you haven't read it, grab it. It's well worth a read.
Yeah, it's well worth a read, I would say, for sure. Um, what else has been on your list this year as like stuff that you've read that no, we stuff that won't make our 2024 list just because it's not from 2024. But I've done a lot of reading. Thanks a lot in part to the episodes that we've had for the
Oh,
show.
really?
Like it made me kind of
Oh, I see what you mean.
think
Yeah.
about miniseries, maxi series. Like it made the reading as much as I'm prepping for an episode, it made it fun because it's like I can read all these 12 issue maxi series if I want to.
Yeah.
Like it's endless what we could choose. Like, ooh, this is interesting. So I read so many different things that I don't know if I probably still would have read them at some point, but this was good excuse to go down that path. Is there anything that
Well,
stands out for you this
I was
year that
going to
was
ask
like
you
that was
first.
good?
What stands out for you? 'Cause
Oh,
I think you managed to read a lot more than me in the end.
yeah.
While I quickly remind myself
I
what I
don't know.
read.
I don't know if I should be embarrassed from how much I read or be
No.
willing to brag about it. I will say that the Black Cat omnibus from Jed McKay was a lot of fun. I heard good things about it, and I was quite pleased with the whole. Like it goes in real street level stories to like real big heist ideas.
Oh.
So it's the superhero heist book, which is a lot of fun because depending on who the character that's being tied into the story, the stakes change and I don't want to give anything away, but
Okay.
it kept it fresh. Like I kept engaged in it. So that was a lot of fun.
Because you
I
generally don't do
reread
a lot of Marvel, do you, at this point, or modern Marvel? What made you pick that up in the first place? Be honest, was it the curves?
I was hearing some good reviews about it.
Yeah.
I got a thing. I mean, it sounds real creepy and I'm not going to apologize for it, but I realized that I really like Catwoman as well as Felicia Hardy, Black Cat. I got a
Yeah.
thing for the Pussycats, right?
Phew.
Cat. Gotcha. I'm not going to get edited, don't worry. But
Nope.
I'm like, is there something about the skin tight thief that they're basically the same character
They are
and they
essentially.
serve sort of the same foil to their associated hero, right? With
In
her and
many
Spider-Man,
ways,
right? There's a lot there that's kind of similar.
personality-wise, they're different, but there are a lot of
Yeah,
similar beats.
there's similar beats,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I'm just like, what is it about the this character? Is it just stereotypical male, you know, what is it called? Not navel gazing, but just like black cat in a tight suit that's, a thief and very sexy. But I think it's more their motivations. What side are they on and why?
Yeah, because that's the thing I always liked about her, the Black Cat. I've always
Yes.
been a big Black Cat fan. I think it was
Yes.
that she was a little bit different to, like, in terms of Mary Jane. I never liked Mary Jane at all. Never really could. I just couldn't like that character at all. But she seemed to be like perfect for Spider-Man. That was what was interesting. She was perfect for Spider-Man. Hated him as Peter Parker.
Right.
So there's that. There's the sexy vibe, which like you can't deny. It's meant to be there. It's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Yeah. The vixen. Yeah.
Yeah, and just I don't know, it's just that edginess. It's just something edgy about it. I just love all that. I think that's probably informed a lot of my bad decisions in my life.
I mean, I think it's the fearlessness as well
Yeah.
with both those characters. Because I the year before I read Ed Brubaker's Catwoman of East End, and I just loved that book. It wasn't
Oh
all
yeah.
Darwin Cook. But they kept it in that sort of feel.
Was it Paul Galassi as well?
Paul Galassi, yeah,
Uh huh.
and Cameron Stewart, I think
Ah.
also was ended it, and it's just a real strong story. I mean, Ed Brubaker's Ed Brubaker, but it takes place during the era of like just before and after Hush. So you see the relationship and the sort of love triangle of her storyline be affected by really revelatory
Oh.
information.
Right.
And as you're reading her story and she's dating Bruce, or she's, having nightcaps with Batman while still kind of, is she or isn't she with the detective that she's working alongside as a
Oh.
PI? He's a main character in her book, right?
I
So
think
they
it.
have
I
like
think
a
it
will they
cut a bit.
won't
Was it
they.
Slam Bradley? You said, wasn't it?
Slam Bradley,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
So he's always having to compete with Bruce or with Batman. And then the time comes where she realizes Bruce and Batman are the same guy this whole time.
Ah.
And he's still so. And then there's of course, the capers and the whole overall plot of that storyline. But in regards to Black Cat, it goes into some real far out places. Like, it's like, how did they make Black Cat this kind of a character? Depending on what she's stealing, right?
Yeah. I
Which is
guess.
the interesting part.
Ah.
If she goes to the point of stealing some sort of artifact that is like on the Indiana Jones level of mysticism, some cool capers can happen. I'm saying capers a lot. Take
Yeah.
another drink to capers. Mark Millar.
Down in one. Down in one.
um, what else did I read? I was really happy to finish Squadron Supreme
Oh, you
in
did, didn't
our
you? Yeah. It's
12
a
issue maxi
hefty
series.
read as well.
It's a heavy one.
Yeah.
If you're I don't know if I'd recommend it to a brand new reader. I think you have to have a little bit of, not faith, but sort of like you got to be a comic book fan who's willing to spend some time with something, because it
Yeah.
asks a lot of,
It
right?
does.
It does.
I mean, I've read it twice in my life, and I
Hmm.
must admit, I found it a bit of a struggle. But it's because it's so heavy. It's a little heavy-handed, I think. Sometimes it doesn't quite need to be. But it's not a bad story by any means, but it was one of those things where I was kind of thinking this would probably be done differently now, because I read it in the 90s once, and then again in the early 2000s,
Yeah,
and it's with very different heads on.
totally. And depending on when you read it and the age you are and what you're
Yeah.
into at that time, it may be less or more tolerable. I read it just at the right headspace coming off of a vacation. I was on into the team books and whatnot. So I like that. I read Crisis on Infinite Earths, very dense, very rich story, bright colors. I said, let me read something like that from Marvel
Yeah.
to an extent, right? And you're right. It would be done differently, because I think Squadron Supreme is like the seed that was planted that gives birth to Civil War and gives birth to Injustice.
Yeah.
And there's so many different spin-offs that they've built, whole omnibuses on one plot thread.
Well,
Whereas this one has it all
yeah, it kind of
in
feels like
12 issues.
that would now be 4-issue arcs. Each single issue would be a 4-issue arc at least.
Easily.
So you're looking at a much bigger chunker of a book potentially, if it was
Yeah.
collected. They wouldn't. So he crams a lot of story into each issue, and that's probably what makes it feel so dense. And you're kind of going, "Have I read?" Because like modern standards, you're reading a few word balloons on a page for the most part. Very rare now you get really heavy word balloon pages.
Oh, that sucker is like, you're getting 12 issues. It's double 12 issues.
Yeah,
It's more like I don't mean that in a discouraging way. Just it'll take you a week to read it.
yeah, yeah. It's a bigger ask of the reader for sure.
Yeah. but I'm happy I did.
Yeah.
I am. I'm happy it's like a notch under the belt that I could say I've read that, and I know either why people really swear by it or why some people would critique it. But man, was it influential. Like I could
Yeah.
see how that would have. There's so many ideas to take from there that have been taken.
Yeah.
So many different arcs.
And I think people do forget that. Like, it was around the time of Watchmen,
Mm-hmm.
around the time of The Dark Knight Returns, all that kind of stuff, Born Again, Daredevil,
Yeah.
Born Again. And it did something that those other titles wouldn't do, and you wouldn't be able to do with the Justice League, which obviously is who it's based on. So,
I put it up there in that, like you said, those books that came out and kind of changed the culture and the medium
yeah,
for the type of stories you could tell. That deserves a lot of credit.
very much
As
so.
Yeah, it really does. Mark Grunwald was, man, the ideas,
Yeah,
the
non-stop
ideas
ideas.
man, and in 12 issues to find a way to make that work. It's really, really good. How about you?
Well,
Anything?
I was going to say, in terms of like older comics and that have, that weren't being re-released or repackaged this year, one of the ones that just kind of kick-started my adoration for A Time Gone By was, weirdly, of all things, Aquaman: The Search for Mera Deluxe Edition. And I mentioned Aquaman in our last incoming episode, but I can't even begin to explain. But it's the most nonsensical, bizarre story that just doesn't explain. Like, it sets a timescale of him searching the sea for Mera, and it makes no sense at all. As a story, it just makes no sense. And I just loved it. I loved how silly it was. And the thing they forget as well is that it's in the sea. They just constantly forget that things are in the water. So if you drop something, it falls on the floor. You're like, no, you're under the water. It doesn't have to do that. And like,
Right,
Aqua Girl's skirt always stays down. Like, why is she wearing a
right.
skirt? You're in the sea. It's the worst thing you
Yeah,
could choose. Like, what are you doing? So there's just some weird options, but there's something lovable about it because it's such an innocent era. I mean, I'm
right.
talking about Aqua Girl's skirt, but I don't mean it in a pervy way, and there's nothing pervy about it.
No,
It's just Mira's still Mira. Aqualad is in it. He goes off and rejoins the Teen Titans for a bit, and it's just perfect Bronze Age bollocks. It's lovable. It's adorable. 1969 into 1970, so it kind of goes Silver Bronze Age. It straddles it like a. I'm not going to say that. Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and I want to read the next. I've got the 3-book series. I've got the 3-book set that covers all those Aquaman stories off from the Bronze Age, and I just want to go back. I wanted to go straight into the next book immediately, but I was covering a lot of crossovers. So I mean, I read some major crossovers from DC that some could be down for this year. Collector's edition wise, some of them were released this year, I think. Some last year, but I read Dark Crisis and Infinite Earths, Night Terrors, Lazarus Planet, which I haven't done the reading order for yet, but it is ready to be reading orderified. I can't even remember some of them, but yeah, it was fine. They were fine. They were okay. I just prefer going back and reading the old stuff. It feels completely different. There's nothing like offensive about those big events, but it doesn't have that same excitement to it, or the
yeah,
same wide-eyed innocence to it. But I kind of like the way they're pulling on some of that old school stuff in the new DC stuff. But we'll probably go into the newer DC stuff in our review 2025 episode. The one thing I will mention, though, before moving on from that is Batman and Superman World's Finest,
I gotta
which
read
will
that.
probably, it may well come up, but that is a lot of fun to read.
Yeah, I
That
gotta read
series.
that.
And it completely vibes off Silver, Bronze Age, 90s, all sorts. It's picked the best of everything, and it's just got so much affection for Superman and Batman, and it
Like
treats them as friends as well. And it's just,
that's already like that omnibus is already. I'm buying that
yeah,
regardless.
yeah,
It's just one of those things that I'm going in blind because it looks like it's either I get it all in the hardcover trades now and read 6 issues at a time,
uh-huh.
and I know I'm going to get that omnibus.
Yeah, same.
right? So I'm like, I bought them digitally, and I plan to read them because I just want to be up to speed with like what's happening with my two of my favorite
Yeah.
characters, especially from Mark Waid and Dan Mora. Like it just seems like a good mix. But yeah, there's something really cool about the way the comic book collecting in the community is now, where you get a lot of collected editions and different ways to discover stories and decide what you want to read. It's not just go every week and catch up with whatever they're doing. Now you can, like, I don't read anything new. I don't have to, or I don't have to read any of the old stuff. I just want what's happening now. I'm a
Yeah.
current reader. And I think that's really a lot of fun because there's just so many things throughout the years that have completely go off your radar because you weren't alive or there wasn't a way to get that set together. It would be just who's going to collect
You've
that
just
and then
forgotten.
completely forgotten. You're right. And now you could really curate your collection to really say something about what you like, but also to have like everything that you want. You don't need it all, but
No.
you could really nitpick and be like, I love Superman, but I don't. I want this era,
Yeah.
which is
That's a
lovely
really
that you
nice
could.
way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that because I mean, I it's not that I'm opposed to. I'm never gonna read a Marvel DC comic. It's just more so when I hear about, well, like I talked to my pal Adam Chapman from Comic Shenanigans, and he's reading modern stuff. He's a Spider-Man till he dies kind of. I'm just reading it because I'm married to the character, good or bad. And when he tells me stuff, he doesn't say it sucks or that it's great. He just explains it to me, and I go, I'm happy. I'm not reading that. He's like, yeah. He's like, I mean, you don't want to read about this, this, and this. I'm like, I feel there's stuff that's already happened that I haven't read or
Yeah.
haven't read in a long time that'll make me happier.
That's kind of, I feel much the same about the both the big two in many ways. I think I'm more
Yeah.
inclined to try more new DC stuff than I would Marvel. If we're going back into that kind of Marvel, no, we don't do the Marvel versus DC debate. Whoops, we sort of are. But when it comes to more modern stuff, I'm happier looking outside of those two. Much happier looking outside of those universes. Sorry, you reading the comments?
Yeah, the BC Scrubs made me laugh.
What did he say?
Goes, he said, I'll leave
Oh,
the hidden gems to our hidden gems expert.
yeah, expect that on Hidden Gems in the future. Um, but I mean, talking of non Marvel and DC, the
Mm.
the two that stick most in my head that are actually rereads that I did this year that weren't new were Ivar Time Walker, which I've mentioned previously on another
Just saw
show.
that on my
But
list.
I was
Yeah.
so happy to read that again. It's such a fun book. I love time travel stories, and it's 12 issues of pure knowing silliness while also being quite smart at the same time.
Yes.
And the other series that I've been having a lot of fun rereading is IDW's Transformers.
Of course.
Yeah. So
Of course.
as
Why
much as
not?
I wanted to read the Energon stuff initially, I don't really want to. I will, but I'm not drawn to it in any conceivable way. But I've been rereading IDW stuff, and even though the earlier books aren't as strong as some of the later stories, like from volume 4 of the IDW collection of Phase 1 to 3, they're it's they're actually pretty decent. I remember reading them at the time and going, I don't know if I want to carry on with this, but I liked it a lot more on the second read.
Mm,
So I
nice.
know that it picks up as well, though, and I'm kind of starting to see where the seeds will and where things continuity will shift a little bit further down the line, where they've gone, yeah, pretend that bit didn't happen. So it's kind of interesting to look back and see how it started because I haven't read it since a friend of mine convinced me to read that stuff about 10 plus years ago,
Mm,
and I was very, very hesitant to read it because Transformers from Marvel UK just it was a big part of my childhood, and I didn't want to read a substandard version of it, you know.
right. Are you
So
getting that compendium that's coming out?
that's the US series, isn't it? I think.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I
I
think
know it
it's
was
the compendium. I think is the US series,
okay.
and I think there's going to be two, and I am getting them, but I know they're awful because they are. So what Marvel UK used to do was they'd write because they were releasing Transformers weekly. there wasn't enough what we now call content. I hate the word content so much, but there wasn't enough there to maintain a weekly comic. So they used to put stories that take place in between the bigger arcs. So, and some of it then would involve characters from Transformers the movie. So some of it would include them traveling back from the future to the present and mucking about with stuff here. And Optimus Prime would go missing, but you have to be back in time to be there for when the series goes. But as a kid, you're not really. You become aware as you get older, and you're going, I see what you're doing here. Okay, well played, well played. But it was such a fun read, and Death's Head was brought into it, and that's where he first appears, basically, and that's where I found him. And it was just a big part of my childhood, man. I had like 250, 300 issues, and I loved it so much. I used to take the comics out and put them in stacks based on who the cover artist was, and that's how I started to learn the differences in art styles.
That's cool.
And then, of course,
That's
like
really
art
cool.
plays a big part of my life now because it's part of my job. So like this really formed who I was to a large degree. So then someone going to me, you should read the IDW comics, and I was going, I don't think I really want to do that. It's just not going to be the same. But when it gets going, it's better.
Yeah.
So past
Yeah,
this initial chunk, it suddenly gets really good.
Nice. Okay, cool. You know what? It's always cool to give stuff like considering what you're saying is in regards to IDW and some of the things we did in episode format this year. Like, I read chunks of Valiant that I haven't read in a while in preparation for our episode about it. And
Yeah.
you brought up Ivar, and that was a fun little chunk of time going through Archer and Armstrong or Harbinger and actually finishing, their series or getting the 25 issues in to get the whole arc. And it's like, you'd be surprised at the comics you would fall in love with, even though they're nothing to do with that comfort zone of the big two or, that, like you said, this is my Transformers. Don't mess with the Transformer memories I have. But you love that IDW stuff, and how happy are you to take that guy's advice? Give stuff a chance. You'll be
Pete Ware,
surprised.
thank you, Pete, for recommending.
Shout out to Pete, right? I'm trying to think of anything I read that wasn't Marvel DC, but most of the stuff that wasn't Marvel DC are the things from 2024
right
that I might list later.
Yeah, we can touch on them another time. There's literally everything I want to talk about is going to be top 20. So,
ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I did enjoy reading some Peter David for a while because I did the Incredible Hulk Volume 3 omnibus.
Oh, you're up to Volume 3.
Yeah, so I finished that one.
That's the Gary Frank run, isn't it?
Gary Frank and the Future Imperfect is in that one. It's a good volume.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff. It's the whole Pantheon era.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
Right. So there's some good stuff there. And then after that, I read not too far after that was Captain Marvel and X Factor.
Captain Marvel and X Factor.
So Captain Marvel,
Janice
Vale.
Yes.
I read the first 35 issues of that, which was, again, Peter David's, if you read his Hulk, the Captain Marvel will mean a lot more.
Yeah, that's
I know
fair,
it sounds like a
actually,
big ask, but it's kind
a
of
worthy ask.
It is. You won't be disappointed having read the Hulk stuff, and then when you deal with Janice Vale and Rick Jones and a lot of Rick Jones's life and the storytelling of what happens to him in the Hulk really carries on here.
It does, yeah.
It's almost like a spin-off in a way.
Yeah, it kind of is. And he doesn't. I don't think he really does that normally, but for Captain Marvel, he did. I think he clearly had an affection for Rick and Marlowe. So yeah, it's kind of fun to see where those characters go next.
I got a soft spot for Rick Jones myself, especially when
I hate Rick Jones. He
Yeah.
made me love Rick Jones.
Yeah, and he was that character that tied into everybody in the Marvel universe, almost like somewhat of a Robin, not a Dick Grayson character, but he was everyone's sidekick. The same way Dick Grayson has been around forever in the DC universe, even though he's like a young man and you don't realize that he's got an 80-year plus history like Batman does. Rick Jones kind of has that sort of thing with Marvel where you go back to old Avenger stories and he's a key figure
Yeah,
in some of those
he
stories.
is.
You're like, you're here still, like you're in Captain America, like you're a key character in Captain America, like what the hell? Like why are you always around? But Peter David really gives him like a you want to know what's happening in his life. He really makes him a main character in the
Yeah,
Incredible Hulk story and definitely in the Genis Vell because again, he's he's Captain America's sidekick for a while.
yeah.
He's directly connected to Bruce Banner,
He's responsible for the Hulk.
responsible, and then he is the connective tissue with Captain Marvel,
Hmm.
right? So it's like everywhere you turn, Rick Jones has his fingerprints.
Yeah, I think it's like the DC equivalent, Snapper Carr. I've never really read any stories with Snapper Carr in.
I think they were the equivalent in regards to like their relationship to the teams, but Snapper Carr became like a Benedict Arnold, right? He turned on them.
Oh, he
Spoilers.
did, didn't he?
Yeah,
Was that
so
Bronze
he's not
Age?
really he's not around to like become what Rick Jones is like a he's like a Jimmy Olsen, he's like
Yeah,
a
he's probably more.
Bucky,
Yeah.
he's got like everybody's got their connection to him. And I'm so surprised that there's never been any sort of reference or use of him in the MCU. Like he is
Oh
such a
yeah.
pivotal character in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
Pivotal.
And he's never had his own title.
No, but he's been the main character in like 5 different books.
Yeah.
Really interesting. So yeah, I
Yeah.
enjoyed reading Peter David's stuff, and then I got into the X Factor, the Volume 2.
So the
Volume 1,
detective, the investigations era. Oh, it's sorry, we've got a
yeah.
delay, I think there. Down
Oh
internet.
no, that's sorry.
Sorry.
Are we back?
Yes, we're back.
That's okay. Yeah. So that was looking forward to finishing. I got to finish that Omni. I got maybe 12 issues to go, and then I get into Volume 2, which I hear is phenomenal.
Sorry, what was that last
What's
one?
happening?
I got so
That's okay.
distracted by
I was
it.
just I was just saying that the Peter David X Factor, the private investigator era, I really enjoyed that. I got to finish it because I've read up to the Messiah Complex event
Oh, and then it.
because I hear
Yeah,
Volume 2 or Volume 3 of X Factor from Peter David is like
that's where it hits.
that's as good as it gets.
That's where it hits.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Volume 4 is out in 2025, and that wraps it up.
Yes. I didn't realize that he continued writing that into like the post Avengers X-Men era.
Yeah, he stayed. They do a little relaunch as well. So he does X Factor as a whole other unit with Warlock as a member and stuff, like Warlock the alien as a member
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, and Gambit, and it's a very different feel. And I don't know if it necessarily worked, but it's quite a short-lived run, and I think that has some crossover issues in it, which might be Axis. I can't remember. It didn't really stick with me. But the X Factor investigations, it's once you hit that point that you're saying, it's around about issue 30, 33, and it's suddenly just, what are you doing? What are you doing? This is insane. Why is no one reading this
Yeah.
book? So I'm really, really glad they're collecting it up, especially as all my trades have been sold. So I was really worried that we
Yes.
weren't going to get Volume 4.
Oh, and the Aquaman from Peter David recently came out.
Yeah.
That thing's a beefy beast, man.
Yeah, there's a higher page count than is listed on most things. So it's like 1,500 pages, but it's actually 1,600 and something pages. You get another 100 pages on top.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm tempted.
I don't know if it's
But
going to
I'm
hang
not-
around long. I think people are starting to snap up these books now.
Yeah. I think when people you never know,
You
but
never know.
when the corporations realize that there's an audience for these, they seem to reprint them.
Sometimes.
It seems to be yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I think they're getting wise to it now, DC. I think they're on the wagon now.
I hope so, especially with all the extra media that they got coming out in the movies.
Yeah.
Like I'm excited to see some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Oh man, Superman. Next up is our top 20 of the year.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that episode.
Yeah,
I love
me
those
too.
ones.
I'm a big fan of that. And that's the one time where we can double up.
True.
So if something gets 2 mentions, it might not go into as much depth on the second mention, but it can get 2 mentions. So that probably means it's even more worth a read, is it? Or we both just happen to like it. But yeah, it's our own individual top 10s.
Yes.
So yeah, you don't
That's
have to
coming
take
up.
something out. I won't have to take something out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Next week we're off.
We're off,
right?
yeah. Do you have plans?
No.
No?
No real plans. No, I'm just
keep
gonna
it low key.
keep it low key. Visit my mom. Shout out to Eric's mom.
Shout out to Eric's mum, Canadian Eric's mum.
I don't know if she's watching tonight, but she's recovering. I gotta send a shout out to her because she's recovering right now from a surgery that she recently had. So everything's hopefully going in the right direction. But if she's watching, love you, Mom. Thank you for always watching the show, even though you don't read comics.
Yes, thank you for your constant support.
Your constant support. And now she always says, that was a good one. You guys did good. I'm like, do you want to read any of those books?
Sweet.
Oh, I don't know if I'm going to read one. But she's a fan of the show, so.
Meat Trunk says, Eric's mom, we love you. Take care of yourself.
Oh, thank you guys.
I'll get well soon, Eric's mom.
Well, I'll spread the word and let her know that well wishes were sent her way.
Yeah.
Dave?
Yeah.
Let's should we wrap it up for this week?
Let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. Thank you everybody for joining us as always. And the speakeasies are our time to just unwind, have a drink, and hopefully everyone had one with us. Any plans for you, Dave, next week?
I have no kids for the first time on a Christmas morning, so it's going to be a bit weird. So what I've chosen to do is I bought the DVD of Superman Doomsday, and I'm going to spend the morning watching Superman get murdered.
The son of Jor-El.
The son of Jor-El's going to get it. And then my kids come over about 6, so then, I've got stuff planned for them that I think they're going to find fun.
That's great. Well, enjoy watching Superman get his butt kicked.
I will. It's a 12, so I can't share it with them. So
that's okay. Enjoy. Nice. All right. Well, everybody who's tuned in, thank you for tuning in with us again. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget, hit that subscribe button, the thumbs up, and visit us at omniversecomics.guide for all your comic book goodness, reading orders, interviews, top 10 episodes, you name it, they'll be there. And stick with us. Our next episode is going to be our top 20 of the year. Yeah. Everyone loves a countdown, year-ending countdown. And then in the next year, it's going to get interesting. We're going to do some decade-related episodes. A lot to look forward to.
All sorts.
Yeah.
We got plans for you all.
All right. Well, Dave, Merry Festivus. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah, everybody. Whatever you celebrate, enjoy.
Sayonara.
Happy holidays.
Yeah.
Sayonara.
Peace, y'all. And thanks so much for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. We'll see you later.
See you later.
Cheers.